This is Far Cry New Dawn. We're here on Xbox Series X taking a look at a surprise 60 FPS update to the game. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So yeah, we got just a recent little tease that this game was going to get a bump up, and just like Far Cry 5, we have finally received this update to the game. It looks fantastic. It's a beautiful visual upgrade, and we get the fluidity. So if you weren't familiar with Far Cry New Dawn prior, this was a game that featured FPS Boost. They've removed FPS Boost and are basically running the game with its original settings, just now at 60 FPS, which is quite exciting. With the FPS boost applied, the game would have to lower its resolution down, whereas with the FPS boost, we don't have to deal with that, which is fantastic. You get the best of both worlds, which is essentially what we got when they did this prior, like I said, with Far Cry 5, and that's kind of really exciting because you get great looking resolution, you get a great frame rate, it's natively applied to the game, and that is fantastic. So, for context, Far Cry 5 New Dawn, because it's a spin-off of Far Cry 5, this is a game that you can play alone, or you can play with, like, well, PAL, because it's got two-player online co-op, and essentially it leans heavily off of the events that happened in Far Cry 5, so I don't recommend playing this unless you've played Far Cry 5, because it literally continues the story. But I guess if you don't care about Far Cry 5 at all and you just want a colorful punk-like wasteland, then yeah, go ahead and just dive into this one and have a blast. It's really weird. It's very different from an apocalyptic standpoint. Essentially, what they're saying is, like, when everything went wrong, it went us all Mad Max-like, but also instead of being like super sad and apocalyptic, it's all colorful and vibrant and really messed up. And to a degree, that's kind of awesome because it's very colorful and vibrant, and Aurora Borealis is going on all the time. But yeah, that's kind of the idea and the concept there is just this really interesting idea of this apocalyptic setup like this. And it's kind of cool. Like I said, I kind of like what they got going on here and the style of it. I did not need to waste a med pack at all doing that. No, not in the slightest. So yeah, like I was saying though, this heavily leans off of what happened with Far Cry 5. So basically, what is going on here is this follows the events of that. In the past, the Far Cry series, you'd get, starting with Far Cry 3, you get a mainline game, and then you get a spin-off. And the spin-off will change the game in a different way. This was, like, I think the first time that it kind of continued the events of the previous game, and yeah, whether or not you're into that is an interesting thing. I just really keep wasting health packs like a fool. I just keep clicking the wrong button. Why do I not have that upgraded? My sidearm. Oh, yeah. Can I get some ammo here? So, yeah, that's basically the scenario is just... That's the world we're dealing with here, is this apocalyptic one, but it's all colorful, and it leans off the events that happened with Far Cry 5, which is quite fascinating. Why do I not have my pistol? Are you just running around with a stick, buddy? Oh my god, I just wasted more mids. So anyways, it's a native 4K at 60 FPS with HDR. It kept getting sidetracked and stalling or whatever, but that's what we got going on here in terms of, you know, fidelity and everything like that. The game is, again, the exact same. So, basically, as I said, what they did was they just took what was existing and they just slapped 60 FPS on it. So, popping all that stuff, you know, it's going to be like how it was, just how it is, because it's not like a full, you know, native version of the game for the current gen, but it looks great. It really does. Like, it looks good. It looks clean. Huh. You clever suicide bombing monster. I am so impressed by that guy doing that. That was really quite something. But yeah, play alone, play with someone else. It's post-apocalyptic Hope County, Montana, 17 years after a nuclear catastrophe. The group of the Highwaymen have taken over, and you're like, what is going on? And then you're out here trying to deal with that and helping the local population and basically gathering resources in order to influence areas. You visit spots that you might have visited during Far Cry 5, but now they're all messed up. You build up your home base, recruit specialists, unlock new features, do more stuff, gather resources. You know, very much the typical Far Cry Ubisoft experience. And this one is kind of cool. Like, it really is, just think, it's Mad Max meets, well, punk, pulpy, colorful vibrancy. It's strange, but no, it's okay. I don't know if the villains were necessarily the best, but you know, it's got some more fun stuff to it. It's just kind of a quirky, different sort of experience. Like, they're like, okay, we're mixing it up, we're doing something crazy, because as I said, they usually do this with every Far Cry. I was actually a little bummed out that Far Cry 6 didn't get that. They got something, like Far Cry 6 got something built into the game, but it wasn't the same as literally having, whoa, you know, a fun, quirky spin-off like this. It just wasn't at the same level of, like, craziness, because like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, there's Primal for Far Cry 4, they got Far Cry New Dawn here. Far Cry 6 was just sort of like baked in stuff, and I was like, oh. Because I really wanted to see what they would do with that world and do some kind of quirky thing, but obviously it just wasn't meant to be. But hey, this one's pretty fun. I have a good time playing this game. I think it's quirky, weird, bizarre, over the top. You know, it's the same map, Far Cry 5, just apocalyptic and weird and colorful. Filled to the brim with activities and new highway people to fight, and yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's a little weird. And all the Hope County people are just like, what has happened to this world? It's kind of crazy too, because like Far Cry 5 like ends things, you know, and then Far Cry New Dawn is like, well, that wasn't really the end, and then things just are like, honestly, super weird in this. Am I gonna get back up, or I get knocked down and I get up again? See you in the afterlife, yo. And yeah, it's got some new mechanics to it too, because you're sort of like crafting and things, and you know, for a nuclear apocalyptic situation here, I have to say the world of Hope Valley, or Hope County or whatever, it's surprisingly in good condition, all things considered. Like, you know, seems like everything regrew pretty quickly, and the citizens aren't even that scarred or messed up or anything like that. Is that a bad guy? Or are you guys like waging factions? Oh, that's kind of funny. But yeah, this one has some neat crafting and adjustments, because you're like basically, you're scavenging, and you're trying to gather stuff with what you have, and then you gotta like craft and like refill ammo and stuff, and you gotta use, you know, you have X amount of resources. And strangely, it's got the buy Far Cry stuff in it, which I found kind of weird. But yeah, you trade the stuff you get resources, and then on the map you can like adjust things and do stuff and build influence. And yeah, it's a kind of a, it's a bit of a strange twist on the existing formula of Far Cry. They basically tried to make it into a survival, scavenging, territory control game. Like, it's, yeah, it makes sense. Like, it's different. As I said, they were trying to really mix things up a bit. Never a dull moment, eh? Somehow these Mad Max suits make these guys, like, nigh invincible to bullet damage, which I think is kind of laughable, because they're literally just wearing biker outfits. That's where I'm kind of like, Mad Max. I bet that was literally the pitch, was they were just like, hey, we're gonna do Mad Max meets Far Cry, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. And I think it's pretty cool too. Like, definitely a cool concept. It wasn't like the most glorious of Far Cries, but I had fun with it. It was neat too, like, especially if you wanted more from Far Cry 5 and you're like, oh, I can't get enough of this game, or oh, I really wonder how everything kind of like goes afterwards. It's like, this is the perfect kind of continuation of that concept. Like, seriously, it's really, really quite neat from that perspective. But that's what I was saying, is like, it really is kind of meant to be played Far Cry 5, then you do Far Cry New Dawn, and they just are such a part of each other that I really do feel like you're missing out on vital stuff just by skipping one or the other. But I love the aesthetic of this world in this game. Like, it looks really cool. The colors just kind of pop, and it kind of reminds me of Rage, which is interesting. If you're not familiar with Rage, you know, that was a game that was kind of a little bit of an open world, and then, you know, angry, shooting, and but it was apocalyptic, and it has like a punky kind of vibe, a colorful vibe to it. Like, just kind of putting like pinks and purples and stuff. I think it's just they're trying to remove or move from the coloring palette of the past. Like, when, you know, like the previous gen before this gen was like really decolorized, like browns and yellows and stuff. Like, it wasn't very aesthetically vibrant and beautiful. And then with this gen, we were, you know, yeah, because this was last gen. This gen was very colorful, and then that bled into this gen too, the current gen, where it's actually like, you know, a mix of colorful, vibrant, and anyways, we get really neat color ranges in video games nowadays, is what I'm mostly trying to say. Whether that's for something you like or don't, you know, it's just, that's how games are now, is just they're a lot different in terms of what they can aesthetically be. Purple's really in right now too, actually, for video games. Like, in-game kind of aesthetics and stuff, which is kind of neat. But yeah, it's perfectly smooth, it looks great. Kind of makes me wonder why they didn't do this sooner, but, you know, it makes sense with what they're trying to tie it in with and stuff like that. And I honestly, I appreciate any sort of free upgrades like this. Like, this is just great. FPS Boost was awesome. Like, you know, these games, they're shooters. They're meant to be played at higher frame rates because they're shooters. They just, it just feels better. It just feels proper. And it was totally fine experiencing this game with FPS Boost. It was just like the resolution was just gnarly bad, right? But then we're playing it here, and it's like, you know, now we get the resolution and the frame rate. It's fantastic, you know, native 4K, 60 FPS. The only thing would be, you know, having that better, like, pop it, and, you know, the proper remastering would take it a little bit further, but I really don't see how you could have any true complaints about what you're getting here, because this is just perfect. Like, honestly, this is good for longevity. This is great. I don't know how you would take this further. Maybe in a future gen, they'll, like, revisit this and pop it up with a higher frame rate even more. I don't know, but 4K 60 is right okay with me. Like, I think this looks colorful, beautiful. It's a blast. I recommend it. You can have some fun with it. It's bizarre. And it's kind of just like a fun, crazy world to run. Like, Far Cry 5 was just such a beautiful, distinct world. And then they're like, oh, we're continuing the story. And I was like, what? There's usually a lot of, you know, ambiguous kind of, to a degree, endings and that happen in games and movies and all that stuff. And that's totally fine with me. I'm okay with stuff ending that way. And then I was just like closure and extra story stuff. And I was like, right on. That's fantastic. I mean, why not? Especially for something as vibrant and beautiful as this. These guys, they're always like runners with like packs and stuff. Drives me crazy. Because, like, I'm just trying to do stuff. Is this gonna blow up? Yeah, the rig to blow stuff. The highwaymen, they're kind of like a weird enemy. They're just bizarre. It really does feel that was like kind of a little bit of a weaker point of this game, was the fact that like basically a couple twin kids kind of took over and everybody's following in their cult wearing, you know, like just outfits that are a little silly, like weird biker outfits and that, and it's just bizarre. Honestly, it's a bizarre thing, but I mean, it's apocalyptic Far Cry experience, so I get it. Still doesn't make it any less bizarre, right? These damn cougars. This is like mountain lion. You know what I'm talking about. These damn cats. I'm just trying to live my life, and you're literally trying to just kill me for like the lols. I don't understand, cat. I will say this, it's a very like lively world. There's, you know, we've been playing for a bit here. There's lots of stuff going on, like lots of stuff dotted throughout the world. You're just going from like one weird crazy event to the next weird crazy event, and it's kind of like it's such a neat world because it's so destroyed everything, and you kind of wonder, like, what's the greater world like? And, you know, how does this fit into Far Cry? I kind of feel like all the Far Cries, they're just specific fun little adventures that you go on in whatever particular time period, and that's, you know, kind of the game. That's the idea of it. It's just you're on like a particular mission where something wild happens, and you are trying to survive in that situation the best you can. And to me, that's always kind of been the appeal of these games. You know, one time you're in a prehistoric era, the next you're modern times, and then you're fighting in like a weird situation, and you've got to be kidding me. I need the high ground. I think this looks great though. Like, I want to shoot these boars with this rocket, and oh, that didn't even really kill those guys at all. Oh, wow. I like how they teamed up temporarily just to end my life. That's honestly kind of hilarious. I always love it when, you know, you're fighting, like it's like a two-way fight, you're a third competitor, and it becomes a three-way fight, and both of the people that originally hated each other were fighting each other turn on you because it's a video game. I don't know if I've ever seen a video game actually kind of get that right, that three-way battle. Maybe sometimes in like Gears 3? Like even in Halo, I kind of think of that, where it's sort of like the Flood and the elites will literally team up to like end you. It's kind of funny. It's like they hate you, they hate each other, but they hate you the most, I guess. There's like the thing in all video games. It's just like, as soon as the player comes in, y'all gotta die. They might have a point. Oh, do they? That's kind of rich. I know you'd believe in anything in that apocalyptic wasteland that looks this colorful and vibrant. There's a lot to do, though. Really, there's a lot to see. There's a lot to experience. There's side quests, main quests. It's not a full Far Cry, but like it's a pretty nifty, fun experience that I think you can thoroughly enjoy. Oh! Why? How did this happen? Why is this happening? I was just trying to get a quest for this guy. Gravity must be messed up here for his binoculars to be flying up like this. Somebody make this make sense. This... Why is that thing taking that thing away? I revived you already, man. I gotta revive you again? This is crazy, dude. Are we not... Is that a friendly cougar thing, or... Oh, it is. Oh, okay. Great. Can I collect from the furs or anything? No. Okay. All right. Far Cry New Dawn. Fantastic. Thanks.